Hello and a big warm welcome to episode 2 of Interconnected, York's Story Circle. Interconnected is all about sharing the amazing life stories of our older residents here in this beautiful city of York. You don't have to do anything, just sit back, relax and enjoy, and hopefully you may feel inspired to have a chat about what you've seen and heard. Today we are in the beautiful historic village of Fulford, which I'm sure some of you may know very well. Fulford is home to our next story, Irene. Here's a picture of her when we interviewed her last summer. Irene grew up here when Fulford really was a village. And when that side of the road over there was York City and this side was Selby District. And all of that down there was still fields. Today we have another Fulford resident, Izzy, telling Irene's story. Here she is. Hi! While you're listening together, I've got another group of a story circle made up of young people from Fulford who are going to be listening too.
Hi! Hi, I'm Maya.
Hi, I'm Ella.
Hi, I'm Karina.
We think it's really important to pass on the life experience and wisdom of our older generation. And let's face it, who doesn't love a story? So Irene's story starts here in the heart of Fulford in 1921, 100 years ago. Let's hear what she had to say, shall we? Over to you, Izzy.
The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven. That was me, playing Portia at school in The Merchant of Venice. Well, I always had a loud voice. We learnt a lot by heart in those days. Poetry, plays, arithmetic. We took a lot to heart too, like the importance of manners, respect, and looking out for other people. I'm Irene, by the way. I'm 99. I don't think there'll ever be another generation like ours. Never. Well, we had to live through 2 wars and put the world straight again afterwards, didn't we? It wasn't easy. My first proper memory, that was when I was 4, playing outside our house in Fulford Village. I looked up from my game and I saw a man rushing into our house with a fire extinguisher. What on earth is he doing? I thought to myself. It turns out a spark from the range had blown over and set fire to our washing. 11 shirts belonging to York City, all ablaze. The man sprayed them with his fire extinguisher, put it out, but of course the shirts were spoilt. My father was fed up. He'd set up York City Football Club, you see, founding member. Football was a big thing for us. It still is. After that, fire was a big thing for my father too. As soon as I moved into my first house in Fulford, he got me fire insurance. Fulford was in the countryside then, East Riding, not York. I remember trams running up and down Main Street and people coming home from the Great War. Men with missing limbs, men wandering with their belongings on a stick. Some people couldn't settle after they came back, you see. They had to be on the go, always moving. Oh, I remember listening to the radio for the first time. I put on these great big headphones and I heard music coming out through them. Oh, it was wonderful. I also remember my grandmother, Minnie Mason. Minnie Mason could do anything. Gardening, pickling, wallpapering, you name it. Women could then. They had to. Well, no one had any money. I mean, you left school at 14. You left school and you went to work. Even if you were a grammar school girl, you still went to work. And in York, work was the factory. Rowntrey's or Terry's. "You're not going to the factory, Irene," my headmaster said. "Oh, yes I am," I said. "Where else was I meant to go?" "You only stayed at home if you were a married woman." That's because there were no jobs for married women. I do remember them being allowed to come back at Christmas though, pack in boxes of chocolates. Oh, they worked so quickly. I remember packing the first boxes of Black Magic. They were new, very exotic. It was a shame not being able to continue with my education though. I'd had good schooling. It was only a village school, but I learnt a lot. History, literature, mathematics, geography. We all had atlases. We learnt about other people and how they lived. We looked outwards. We were well read. There were books, always books. The war helped with that. The looking outwards, I mean. We learnt about all sorts of different people, and it brought you into contact with all sorts of different people, you see. I was 21 when I was called up, still working at Rowntrey's, and then one day I got my papers. "Report to Fulford Barracks on Friday," it said. And that was that. 2 weeks training at Fulford, left, right, left, right, left, right. A month at a training college in Leeds to learn to type. Click, clack, click, clack. And then off to Chilwell Ordnance Base in the Midlands for the next 3 years. I learnt a lot there. How to get on with people, how to get up in the morning. We worked 6 to 2, 2 to 10, 10 to 6. 6 to 2, 2 to 10, 10 to 6. I always remember that. And we had to keep our kit clean, make our beds properly, polish our buttons, the underneath of our shoes for inspection, always in uniform, always marching. But I refused to marry in uniform. People did, but I wore white. A borrowed dress made of lace from Nottingham's Lace Market, an underdress cobbled from someone's nightdress, someone's mother's sleeves and someone else's collar. We had no money then. We had to make the best of what we had. The man that I married was called Eric. He was wonderful, full of love. He'd sulk sometimes, but he'd always apologise afterwards. "I don't know why I do it," he'd say. We were happy. I think the secret is being equal partners. You'll argue, yes, but it's you both having an equal say that's important. We had our honeymoon in Blackpool. There was nowhere else to go. The East Coast was covered in rolls of barbed wire, sea defences for years. After we got married, Eric went back abroad fighting. Italy. He didn't talk about what went on, what he saw. I don't think he wanted to relive it. The world has changed such a lot in my lifetime. Manners, medicine, technology. But it's good, and I've been lucky. I was encouraged to read, to learn about different places, to question things. I was taught, don't judge people by the way they look or act. Get to know them first. Find out why they are the way they are. Some people have poor home lives, not enough love. Things happen. And that stood me in good stead, as has optimism, being a glass half full person, always trying to think of a solution. Didn't always know if it would work, and it didn't always work. But I decided long ago that I'm not prepared to just exist. I want to live. How far that little candle throws its beams, so shines a good deed in a weary world. That's Portia again. It's funny what sticks in your mind. I'm Irene, I'm 99, and that's my story.
Wow, that was so interesting, and I learnt so much from listening to that story. There were lots of things in there about York that I didn't even know, and it's not very often that you hear about women being called up to serve in the war. Fascinating stuff. So I've got some questions and I'm going to ask them to our young people's story circle in a moment, but I'm also going to ask you too. And the first question is this. Irene talks a lot about the power of books and how they've influenced her in her life and how they've had the ability to change her perspective on things. So my question to you is, what do books mean to you? And is there a particular book that's influenced you in your life? Ask the person in charge to pause the video here, have a chat, and then when you come back, we'll listen to what the young people think. Great, let's hear what the young people think then. So what about you guys? What about books to you? Do books have a big impact on your life? Let's hear from you, Maya.
Books have always had a huge impact on me. If it's a book that I really identify with and I really love, then I kind of start becoming the characters and I kind of take on their traits. So they really affect me just mentally and physically, and I just kind of absorb the role.
Great, that's probably the actress in you, isn't it, Maya?
Yeah, probably.
What about you, Ella?
Yeah, it does. I don't read a lot as I'm dyslexic, but I listen to audiobooks and they have a big impact on me and what I learn, because you pick up like snippets of random knowledge as you go. I love Mythos by Stephen Fry. It's all about Greek mythology and it's a really good introduction if you're new to the subject. And even if you know loads, it's really good because he tells the stories in different ways.
Great, I've never read that book. I'm going to head for that. Sounds great. And what about you, Kalina?
I love reading because it's like an escape from the real world. And I think it's so cool how much you can learn from a stack of paper. So yeah, books have a big impact on my life.
Great, thanks guys, that's really good. So the next question, do you think York is a green place to live? Has it changed a lot in your lifetime? Can you remember, like Irene, a time when the city was closer to the countryside or the countryside was closer to the city? Okay, great. Let's hear what the young people think. Okay, so what do you guys think about green space? Is it important to you to have access to nature in the city? Let's hear from you, Kalina.
I think it's very important to have access to green spaces and nature, because when all is difficult with like government and disease and poverty, it's so nice to just take a walk in nature and feel free.
Yeah, that's the feeling, isn't it, you get when you're out in nature. There's a sense of freedom, isn't there? That anything's possible. Great. What about you, Maya?
I wish there was more of it. I absolutely love nature. I just love going outdoors. It's like, I love walking around, which just sounds really, really boring, but I do, especially during lockdown when you can't really go anywhere, you can't really see people. It's just been a really nice way to chill and relax. And York is already gorgeous. I love living here. And I think more green spaces in York would always be a good thing. And when town was open, me and my friends used to go to the green spaces a lot to meet up and stuff, like museum gardens and by the river and fields. But now that we're in lockdown, walk's the only thing you can really kind of do.
Yeah, and those green spaces have really come into their own in lockdown, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%.
What about you, Ella?
I wish we had more open land in York. I don't know if you know Roundtree's Park at all, but they're doing loads of flood work there and they cut down loads of trees and green space, and it's just such a shame. And near my house, we used to have quite a few trees and they just cut all of them down. And it's really terrible because there used to be loads of beautiful wildlife and this big, amazing willow tree.
Yeah, and I guess those green spaces now are so important for you guys, like given that there's very few youth clubs or anything like that open, for you to have access to places to go and hang out with your friends. Now you're getting to that age where you want a bit more independence. Green spaces are great for that, aren't they? Irene talks a lot about the changes in medicine and technology over her lifetime. My question to you is there a particular innovation or advancement that has changed your life for the better? Maybe there's an invention or discovery that has made a real difference to you. Okay, great. Let's hear what the young people think. So what about you guys? What do you know about how medicine and technology has changed in the 20th century? And is there anything that you couldn't imagine living without that you have now? What about you, Kalina?
I can't really imagine not having the ability to be able to pick up a phone and talk to a friend, because when they had to send letters, they would sometimes have to wait weeks and months for a reply. And I think it's really great that we have technology so that we can do that now.
Yeah, not only can we ring someone, we can see them straight away, can't we? Great. What about you, Maya?
Films are something that I really couldn't live without, especially during lockdown. Films have really just helped me get away with all of this, just COVID in general, and it just kind of gives me an escape from everything.
Yeah, films are great for escaping, aren't they? Especially at times like this. What about you, Ella?
Technology really helps me on a daily basis. Having a computer I can bring into school and type on really helps people like me who have dyslexia. I've learned how to touch type, which is great. There are new things called reading pens, which like scan text, so they read it for you, which is really cool. Medicine is great. It has gotten so much better since Irene was young. So many new cures and lives saved.
Yeah, there's been a lot of advances in our lifetime, let alone Irene's lifetime. Medicine and technology has changed massively in your lifetime, hasn't it? So my last question is, Irene was taught never to judge anybody by how they looked or how they behaved, to always get to know them first. And my question to you is, if you could give somebody a piece of advice to get through life, what would it be? Great, I'm not going to ask the young people that question, I'm going to ask them something different. Thank you so much for that, guys. It's been really good to hear your thoughts. Can I just ask you one last question before you leave? Is there anything from Irene's story that you will take away with you and remember, perhaps, in the future? Let's hear from you, Maya.
I always loved how she valued school and her education in general, and the fact that she still does. Her attitude towards school, it's just really helped me find my motivation, especially during COVID and everything that's happened with our exams, because she just had to go through so much with the war and everything that was happening to her, and she really looked at education to achieve and to learn.
Great, thank you. She'll be pleased to hear that, I'm sure. What about you, Ella?
I think it's amazing how strong she is. She's lived to 99 and gone through two world wars, and she's still such a strong and vibrant person. I think it's amazing how much of an optimist she still seems to be after all the massive events happening in her life. She's had to live through 2 world wars and clean up after it all. I think it's just amazing, and she's so resilient.
Yeah, resilient is a great word to describe her, yeah. What about you, Kalina?
I think I'll remember the bit about the wedding dress and how she made do with the little that she had. I remember things like that because I think it's a really great way to go about life, to make the best of things. Also, when she remembered her lines from The Merchant of Venice, at the school I go to, we learn a lot of poems, and remembering them can really help me when I'm in a tough situation.
Yeah, there's something really nice about that make, do and mend
ideology that we've maybe lost a bit now. You know, people rush out and buy something new, don't they? So I think, yeah, that's really nice to start bringing that back. Thanks so much. It's been really, really great to get your thoughts, and I know Irene will be really interested to hear what you thought to her story. Right, I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye.
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 Just before we finish, we've created a song about Irene's life that we'd love to share with you. It's called Looking Out, and Maya and Izzy are singing it. Enjoy.
Looking out for other people, looking out beyond this land, reaching out but never judging, reaching out to understand, be a glass half full, not prepared to just exist. I want to live. The quality of mercy is not straight. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven. We learned a lot by heart. We took a lot to heart. There'll never be another age like ours. Looking out for other people, looking out beyond this land, reaching out but never judging, reaching out to understand, being a glass half full, not prepared to just exist. I want to live. How far that little candle throws his beams, so shines a good deed in a weary world. We had to go to work, we had no money then, we had to make the best of what we had. Looking out for other people, looking out beyond this land, reaching out but never judging, reaching out to understand, being a glass half full, not prepared to just exist. I want to live. Reaching out for other people, looking out beyond this land, reaching out but never judging, reaching out to understand, being a glass half full, not prepared to just exist. I want to live. I want to live.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed chatting to each other. We certainly have enjoyed it here. And we've come to the end of the Story Circle. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again very soon. Bye.
Tell me a story, I'll sing you a song. Together we'll make sense of where we belong. Sing it together, together we'll find your life is not so different from mine. Sharing the tears and sharing the laughter, we won't forget them. Rolling the years back, whatever comes after, we'll all feel better. Tell me a story, I'll sing you a song. Together we'll make sense of where we belong. Sing it together, together we'll find your life is not so different from mine. What you see, I see you, and what you feel, I feel it too. What you see,